We've talked about this at length before, how I hate late shifts. Working overnight when there's very little employees at a store like a convenience store or a drugstore or something like that is just, it's incredibly scary because every time somebody comes in there, you think they're gonna murder you. There's a weird kind of clientele that hangs around us. I'm not saying they all bad or whatever, and I know some people, they work nights, so they have to kind of shop at night too, like on their lunch breaks and stuff, but it still kind of freaked me out when I was there, and I'm glad I don't do it anymore. Good horror stories from it all, though. We're gonna hear one today from Animated Horror Flicks. Make sure to subscribe to him, guys. Hit the notification bell, as well as me if you like reaction videos. Let's get into this animation. I love his animation
This
style,
happened to me a
man.
couple of
Always so
years
good.
ago, during my final year of law school, and I just started volunteering at a legal clinic to gain some experience before I graduated.
Smart.
I'll admit, it took some getting used to, the new job, and although most of the cases were regarding custody battles and disputes between landlords and their tenants, I hope that one day the experience would help me land a job at one of the top law firms in the city.
Messy.
It was Social Friday, and I was working a little later than usual.
Alright.
Trying desperately to wrap up some paperwork regarding my latest case. Apparently, the building owner had failed to comply with certain safety regulations and was now on the hook for a hefty fine. However, my boss managed to negotiate a killer deal on rent in exchange for legal representation.
Nice.
I wasn't planning on pulling an all-nighter, but I decided I would stay at the office for as long as it took to free up my weekend.
Right.
Besides, I was only a 20-minute Uber ride away from my apartment, so I wasn't too worried.
Yeah, not bad.
After indulging in a short coffee break, I decided to head outside for a quick smoke and get some fresh air to clear my head. I guess I must have forgotten how late it was, because after peeking through the window and observing the empty street, the idea of going outside at night alone seemed like a really bad idea.
Yeah.
I was too lazy to head for the roof, so I decided not to go outside at all and just smoked my cigarette at the end of the hallway.
Just do it, right.
Which I'm glad I did, because just a few moments later, I began hearing someone moving around outside.
Alright.
The last thing I wanted to do was draw any attention to myself, so I finished my cigarette and quietly headed back upstairs.
Yeah, smart.
As I reached the office, I immediately noticed something odd. I don't remember exactly if it was the sound of the bustling city or the sharp chill from outside, but either way, it drew my attention to one of the large windows, which was slightly open.
Sure.
And I remember thinking it was strange that I hadn't noticed it before. Fortunately, the windows didn't open very wide, so I had no immediate cause for concern. As I closed the window, I couldn't shake this feeling of being watched, which is when I noticed someone outside on the street looking at me.
Someone was trying to get in there?
It was too dark to make out any distinguishing features, but my gut told me it was someone from the street.
Right.
Eventually, he started gesturing something like he wanted to enter the building. I gestured back that I wasn't interested.
No.
He just responded with the same gesture.
No.
Seemed oddly persistent.
Right.
I knew it was cold outside, but there was no way I was going to open the door to a complete stranger.
Sure.
So I just ignored him and headed back to my desk.
Man.
Where I glanced at the clock and wondered if I should be heading back. I was about to reach for my phone before suddenly being interrupted by an alarm of some kind. It wasn't very loud, but I was quite sure it wasn't coming from a cell phone or a clock.
Okay.
Eventually, I found the culprit to be a smoke alarm.
Smoke
which was
alarm?
Very strange.
Oh no.
Considering there was no evidence of any fire or smoke. I guess it had been a long time since anyone bothered to replace the batteries, because it went silent just after a few seconds, which was quickly preceded by a loud knock on the door downstairs. Admittedly, it was very surprising to receive any visitors at that hour.
Right, is that dude from outside?
The clinic was located in a rather sketchy part of town and had its fair share of hobos and troublemakers. I was hesitant to even approach the front door.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't know who it was, but the knocking sounded more like someone trying to force their way in, or at least get my attention.
Sure.
I looked outside the window, but couldn't see anyone.
Right.
And against my better judgment, I finally gave in and headed downstairs to see if it was a matter for the police. However, by the time I got there, the knocking had already stopped.
Sure.
And I was met with a quiet, empty hallway and no obvious signs of disturbance.
I'm feeling a jump scare, y'all.
That's when it really hit me. Maybe it was time to be getting back home. It wasn't too late to binge some Netflix and pass out on the sofa.
But you gotta go outside to do that.
So I hailed an Uber and prepared for a safe ride home. But as I turned off the lights
Safe.
to the office, I began hearing the loud knock on the door again. I just stood there in silence until eventually the knocking stopped, and I had a pretty good idea who it was at that point.
Yeah.
So I returned to the window, not at all surprised to see the same homeless guy outside,
Right.
facing the building. My patience was running low, and I really didn't want this guy lurking around outside when my Uber arrived.
Right.
So I tried to gesture for him to just leave me alone, which is when I realized something that gave me the chills.
What?
I could hear knocking on the door again.
Oh.
It wasn't the guy on the street.
It's not him.
It was someone else.
He got a partner
which
in
I thought
crime?
was strange because I hadn't witnessed any interaction.
Why don't you
between
open the
homeless
window and
man
ask him what he
on the
wants?
street and whoever it was knocking on the door. In fact, he didn't seem to acknowledge that anyone was at the door at all,
Right.
and continued with the same gesture as before. But what did it mean? My Uber driver was just a few minutes out, so I was going to have to approach the
this
door
is
eventually.
stressful, yo.
But just as before, as soon as I got to the hallway,
It
the
stopped.
knocking stopped, and
Right.
everything went completely silent. I took one deep breath and cautiously walked towards the door as I endured the chill that suddenly enveloped the hallway. Once again, I peered through the window and
Nothing?
observed just an empty street. No sign of anyone, not even the homeless guy, which oddly
Is that
enough
the Uber?
made me feel even more anxious as I
Right.
inserted the key in the door.
Somebody hiding on the...
I had a really
Balloon
bad
too?
feeling about what was on the other side,
Yeah.
but it was nothing compared to the horror of what happened next.
Why you got some
I
light
witnessed
behind you?
something truly terrifying emerge at the end of the hallway that I simply can't explain.
Okay. Oh! What? Oh no.
As I came to, I was met with the homeless man who was mumbling something that was difficult to understand.
Right.
Eventually, I figured out that he was deaf and also had trouble with his speech.
Oh.
I had no recollection of what happened when the light blew out,
Right.
or how I got outside. Only that the homeless man found me this way after fleeing from a car that he thought was the police. When I asked him about the gestures he was making, he told me that while he was collecting cans from the trash, he witnessed someone attempting to escape through the window.
Oh my
He
god.
tried to warn me about what he saw, but was unable to get my attention.
Right.
That's when I realized this whole time I'd mistakenly thought someone was trying to get in, when
They
in
were
fact,
trying to get out.
someone or something was trying to escape.
What the heck? What's up with the
I guess
fire
despite
guy?
the drama of that night, the kind, homeless man just wanted some company and indulged me
Wow.
with a story regarding the old building.
Huh.
From what I understood, a few decades ago, it used to be a factory, but there was a fire, and since there were no proper fire escapes installed,
Oh, was
one of
it
the
a
workers remained
ghost?
trapped inside and was engulfed by the flames.
Wow.
Something about the story somehow echoed the strange events of that night.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell
Especially
anyone
seeing
about
the
what
guy
happened.
that was on fire, right?
The hardest part was trying to explain to my boss how the door was still locked, even while the keys remained on the inside. Anyway, I assumed the building was haunted, so I avoided
Yeah.
working late nights after that.
I
And never
guess so.
worked alone.
Oh man, that was such a good story. Such a good story, y'all. Animated horror flicks. Make sure to subscribe to them, as well as me if you like reaction videos. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.